What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps. UFC 294 is in the books. Great card. Obviously, the main event went the way that it went, so let's get right into it. As I said before, in the preview, in the breakdown, there is a significant difference between having a full training camp and not having a full training camp. But regardless, despite that point and that fact, I know there were some crazy folks in the comments saying not everyone's mentality is the same, Aljo. Just because you train the way you do doesn't mean everyone trains that same way in the offseason. Guys, look at the physique of those two men when they stepped into the octagon, when they stepped on the scale. Completely different from their first meeting. We don't all train 100 miles an hour in the offseason. That's just not sustainable. And if you're trying to do that, there's only so long you can do that for. But despite that, Islam Makhachev had a great performance, did what he was supposed to do, and I think him doing it the way he did kind of removes a lot of question marks. Even though it was short notice, you got to make the argument that his size, obviously being the 55-pound champ versus the 45-pound champ, short notice, you take all that into consideration, and then you have the result, round one finish. Stoppage. You kind of have to say that the champ did what he was supposed to do on the terms and the situation that was presented in front of him. If that turned into be a five-round war, I think the conversation would be a little bit different. And I think you guys can probably agree with me on that. But the fact that he dispatched of a tough competitor, a tough champion in Volkanovski, the way that he did in round one, yes, short notice, but the way that he was able to handle the opposition showed that the champ is a champ for a reason. That's my analysis and I guess my takeaways from that. Again, if it was a 5-round back and forth war, then people would have been saying, oh, if Volk had a full camp, it would have been different in the rematch, but he did what he was supposed to do, and he got rid of him in round one. And again, great performance, same side. It was a same side head kick, but he threw the head kick. Volk missed. It almost reminded me of Poirier versus Gaethje. The difference was Poirier was able to kind of like get one hand up there and then put on the finishing touches. With this, it was pretty clean. I don't even think Volk's hand even got in the way at all to defend that kick. I think it just landed flush. He was stuck when he got hit. And then from there, man, it was Islam just put it on him. And from there, you can so, one of my friends was saying it was an early stoppage. I was like, bro. Well, he said it with a question mark. I was like, come on, dude. The guy cannot move, and he got his bell rung. It wasn't like he was still moving. He was frozen, damn near mounted, and he put on a barrage of punches with no opposition in the sense of like blocking his face, trying to move and showing that he was still fine. He was out of it. And then when the ref stepped in, he kind of sat back and faded and kind of like conceded like, yeah, I'm out of it. I'm done. I'm not saying he said I quit, but you could tell he was done. It was a good stoppage. Congrats to Islam and his team. I met a whole bunch of those guys this weekend. Actually got to hang out with Umar a bunch. We worked together almost the entire UFC fight week for the most part. He's got a sense of humor. Definitely different when he opens up to you kind of a thing. So that was cool, getting to kind of hang out with him a bit. I got to meet his brother Usman or Magomedov and hung out with Bilal and a few things like that. So even just touching base on that, I almost feel compelled that I have to make some clarification. And I have a lot of friends on both sides. I have a lot of Jewish friends, associates, training partners. I have a lot of people from the Middle East that are friends, associates, training partners, people that I get along with, all great people that I've seen hang out from time to time and have great conversation. And I think it's hard to give text and give full contextual meaning to what I'm trying to relay to the people. And at the end of the day, the simple message that I have to say, and it's a deep conversation, with many complex layers. My message to everyone is, I don't want to see killing at all. I don't want to see innocents, civilians of mothers, daughters, anyone who's being caught in the crosshairs of this battle, this war that's going on between what seems like Israel versus Hamas. I don't know much. I don't want to pretend to know too much. And I can think we can all agree that innocent casualties is no good for anybody. I think Khamzat Chimaev had a beautiful post-fight speech along with a great performance and showing his emotion and letting the world know how he feels about what's going on. And again, the same thing. I don't think anyone's happy with war. With war, there is no one that truly wins. At the end, there will be heartache, there will be mourning, there will be pain, there will be suffering, there will be a lot of blood being shed, and that's not good for anybody. So my heart goes out to all those people. I, again, just want to make sure I am apologizing and making sure that you guys understand that I mean no disrespect to either side. I know both parties have their beliefs and their moral grounds of what they stand on, and I don't want to make it seem like the ignorant American who's coming out of nowhere from left field and saying things that people might not agree with. Again, I don't know the history, I don't know the backstory, but I know one thing's for certain. I think we can all agree with that we don't want any more bloodshed. I don't want ethnic cleansing on any side, and I don't know what the solution is. I do hope that we can find a way to somewhat make a truce and keep things as peaceful as we can make it, because I believe there's a way that we can all coexist, and hopefully we find that one day. But yes, I felt compelled that I had to at least touch on that. Again, this is not, I'm not trying to wave a banner or a flag of anything. If anything, that flag is white, you know. My heart goes out to all the Palestinian people who have been affected, and of course all the Israeli people who have been affected as well, especially when they have nothing to do with the war between the two sides. But we'll carry on. Khamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman, again, short notice. The one thing I did notice with this one compared to Volkanovski is the physique and the physical appearance. I felt like Usman looked physically better in shape and maybe not have let himself go too much compared to Volkanovski, who also not too long ago had a surgery. So I want to make sure I'm being fair and not trying to be, I don't want to be impartial and I don't want to be biased by any means. With that being said, I thought Usman had a great fight. I do think he started a little bit slow in that first round, and giving up control for that long, man, Chimaev in the first round is an absolute buzzsaw. But then, as I've stated before in the past, he tends to slow down. And I think you could see that in some of his previous fights that have gone the distance, which from what I could think of, have only been Gilbert Burns, now Kamaru Usman, and I can't think of another one that went the distance. So it might just be those two. But what I'm saying is, you can see when the skill level of the opposition is here, if he doesn't get you out in the first round, it's more competitive. And I think that's going to have to be something that he's going to need to figure this out going into a championship fight with a guy like Sean Strickland, who does not gas, man. That guy does not get tired. He knows one speed, stands right in front of you. He's going to constantly walk you down, throwing these front kicks, throwing these 1-2s down the middle. Sometimes occasionally leads to these wide hooks. With that being said, I think if he figures that out, it makes that title fight very, very interesting. Because again, that first round, if he doesn't submit Strickland in round 1, how does round 2, 3, 4, and 5 look? Because we know Strickland is as tough as they come. Yes, he's been knocked out before. He's been stopped before. But I think you've seen the growth. And I think you've seen that each fight is different. Styles make fights. And that's what makes it interesting. Because Usman, I think we can all agree that was having better success with the striking department. For as little as there was, but whenever there was some exchanges, for the most part, Usman got the better of it. The judging was really wacky. I didn't really understand. There was a scorecard where Chimaev won, because it was a majority decision. So he won 2 of them. I think one of them was a draw, and then the other one was like a 29-27. So I'm trying to figure out how they did the scoring. Was round 1 a 10-8? Was round 2 a 10-10 or a 9-9? Like, I don't really understand how they scored that. So that's kind of where my issue lies in that whole thing. So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure that out. I'm going to have to try to go online and see if I can find the scorecard somewhere. But other than that, I thought it was a great fight. There was a lot of questions that were answered by both men. I think both men can compete at the 85-pound weight limit. I think some people were saying that the size played a factor. Yes and no, because both guys were welterweights, even though Chimaev seems to have only fought at welterweight the one time against Gilbert Burns. The other ones have been against Mershad, the other guy at 85 when he made his debut, and the Kevin Holland thing was at like 179 or whatever it was. So it's a very interesting argument. I get it. Some people are saying he's not really a welterweight. He's never made the weight. Well, technically he did, at least once. And we've seen it against one of the best guys in the world in Gilbert Burns. So we'll see what happens going on into the future with that matchup. But again, it was a fun matchup. I would love to see that fight over 5 rounds. I think even the Gilbert Burns fight, I would love to have seen that over 5 rounds, especially if it was going to become a #1 contender or title challenger elimination type of thing, where with this, obviously the implications where you win this, the next fight would be for the belt. I'm not saying all fights need to be like that, but it makes it interesting to wonder what would have happened if that were a 5-round fight. What would have happened? And these are the what ifs, and this is why I love MMA. It makes it all interesting. What would have happened? What if Usman had a full training camp? Does the fight go that way? Does he start that slow? Does he pick up steam a little bit more? Does Khamzat get more tired and then one guy goes this way and the other guy goes this way? Or does it look exactly like that? Both guys being very respectful of each other's skill set and Khamzat still wins. We're never going to know unless they get to do it again. But as we all can see and agree that Usman is towards the later end of his career. And I would argue, or should I say, I wouldn't even argue this. This is not an argument. But I can see him kind of being like, I've done my part in the sport. There's nothing else left to prove unless he legitimately wants to make another run at a title at 185. Because I think he can compete with those guys. I really do. Just based on that performance with the dark horse, the boogeyman, that a lot of people are afraid of his grappling. I think for him to go out there and do what he's done, I think it makes it very likely that he can actually compete at 185 with some of those guys. He's got the build. He's got the strength. He didn't look outgunned by any means by Chimaev. And obviously the grappling department is the grappling department, but it'd be nice to see how much more he would have been able to push if he had a little bit more in the gas tank. I don't know if he was afraid of getting tired or anything like that, but he looked to have had the better tank towards the later end of round 3. And with that being said, great fight for Chimaev, great win, and I look forward to see what Kamaru Usman is going to do next. He's a stud, and for him to step up like that on short notice and put on that type of performance, I think it says a lot about him as a person and as an athlete. Next up, we got, of course, Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. This fight just shaping up to get a little bit spicy, and the illegal knee, crazy. Johnny Walker wanted to continue. I guess from what I understand, the doctor asked him, "Where are you?" He doesn't speak English that great. It's very broken. If you talk to Johnny Walker, it's very broken English. He tries to speak the language. Should have got a translator, that's one. This doctor already messed some other things up. So everything was piling on this doctor. And of course, we're overseas. The UAE doesn't typically get UFC fights that often. So of course, there's probably some growing pains that are going to happen. And this is one of them. An all-out brawl almost happened because of this. These guys wanted to continue fighting. The doctor asked Johnny Walker, "Where are we?" From what I understand, he said the desert. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. It kind of reminds me of the doctor when he asked me what state I was in. I was like, I don't remember what state I'm in right now. I barely remember what I ate for breakfast. And he asked me another question, and I answered the question. I was like, see, I'm fine. I'm just telling you, like, there's some things, especially when you're in the heat of the moment, it's like, it's the last thing I'm thinking about. It's like tip of the tongue. So I'm sure Johnny remembered that he was in Abu Dhabi later on. Like, oh yeah, we're in Abu Dhabi. But he just remembered, oh yeah, we're in the desert. He didn't make the connection, whatever, for whatever reason. Adrenaline, high stakes, just got kneed in the head. There's a lot going on. The fight just started. So, I don't know. I think that the doctor kind of botched that one, in my personal opinion. That gets turned to a no contest. It's unfortunate because that was probably going to make a clear path for who was going to be the next guy in line to challenge for a title if Jamal Hill isn't back and ready to compete at X date for the turnaround after Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira fight for the vacant title at 205. Yeah, it got a little crazy. Let's go into the other one. This new guy, Aliskerov, man, he's a beast. I guess the only guy he's lost to was Chimaev. Man, landing that head kick and then coming into the jumping switch knee and then from there following up with those big hooks, put Warlley Alvarez down in a way that, I just didn't see it happening like that. He dropped him with the first jab, which was just right on the button. It almost looked like he caught him while he blinked. As he blinked, he hit him and then kind of like just stunned him, dropped him, flash knockdown. He gets back up real quick. The head kick he throws, jumping switch knee, a barrage of punches, and that's the fight. I look forward to seeing what else this guy can do and seeing how far he can take it at this weight class. I believe that was 85, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, middleweight. So Warlley Alvarez is a middleweight. And I kind of wonder if Warlley Alvarez also fought Colby Covington at welterweight or at middleweight. I'm going to say it was at welterweight, and he's no longer cutting as much weight as he was before. And that's why this fight was a middleweight fight instead of a welterweight bout. Or should I say that's why Warlley is now at 85 instead of 70. He's upper weight class. Said Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov. Now, I know both of these guys, mostly Muin. I've trained with him. Rob has trained with both of them. And Said is pretty good, pretty damn good. And Muin is pretty damn good too. So I'm just blown away by the fact that when he shot in, obviously you watch tape. I think that's the second time. Said has hit, third time he has hit that choke, that ninja choke where guys shoot in, he catches that step, front headlock, he wraps it all the way around, and then he locks over the top. We call this a ninja choke. It's extremely hard to get out of, especially if you don't roll to your back so you can catch some room where they can no longer arch into you. You can get some room being up underneath where now you being on your back gives you a little bit more leverage on or more opening or space in your airways for you to not to tap right away in that choke. Called Cody Stamen. I think he caught Saeed Sadikab in that same choke, and he was Saeed Sadikab. I think he was beating him the whole time, and it goes into the third round. I think that's exactly what happened. Got caught in that same exact choke, and Muin does the same exact thing. Barrages in, comes in, grabs a single. Looks like he's gonna get the takedown. Saeed bounces on one leg, throws that hand under his opponent's neck and wraps it up, and that's all she wrote. That choke goes on so fast. One of my favorite chokes to hit, but I just never seem to have guys who would just hang out in that position. Luckily for Saeed Nurmagomedov, he's had 3 guys hang out in that position, and yeah, it's the third time he's hit that choke in a row. Not in a row, but third time he's hit that choke. So good for him. And I think now he's back in that top 15 conversation, and we'll see. Oh, it was a round 2. He hit Sadikab Karakhmanov. He hit him in the second round with that guillotine choke. Yeah, 3 of these chokes, man. It's insane. Insane that he's been able to do that. And you know what's crazy? He's not the biggest bantamweight. He doesn't cut a lot of weight. He used to fight at flyweight, but he's so lean. I think he's taller than me, if I remember correctly, standing next to him. So he's got the length, but his body weight, he's relatively small. But he fights so well because he moves so well. He's nimble on his feet. He's long. Takes his time. He circle. He'll step in and stab that jab. Circle. He'll throw a kick or a spinning attack. And he's really light on his toes. And I think that's what makes him super effective. He frustrates guys. Cody Stamen rushing in. Muin Gafurov now rushing in. Sadikab Karakhmanov shooting in, getting him down multiple times, but then gets caught in the last one and gets choked. You know, so I think he does a really good job of that, and that's how he's been getting these finishes. So I look forward to seeing what's going to happen with him next. Muhammad Mokaev, very interesting fight. This was a weird one because of the knees to the head. There was no point deduction. I need to watch it back to see if there should have been a point deduction. I wasn't drinking this fight at all. I didn't drink any alcohol watching this fight. I had a rough night the day before, so I need to kind of just recover. So as I'm watching it, I'm kind of like, I don't really know if he's like playing the game. Should you just warn him? Should you take a point? And then the last foul infraction, it looked like Mokaev was off of his knees, which he was, but he was sitting down squatted, but his butt wasn't actually touching the ground. So he's technically not a grounded opponent. He throws the knee, his hand was on the ground, he tries to pick him up, his hand comes up, the knee lands, it's supposedly legal in the third round. They stop the fight, they go to the review, they go back, Jason Herzog resets the position, Jason Herzog is the ref, resets the position, and then if I'm the fighter, if I'm Tim Elliott, I want my position back. I got you down, I'm a grappler. This is the position that I want, especially when I know it's a close fight. I know I need to win this round. I know if I can kill 1-2 minutes on the clock, land some strikes, I'm probably gonna get the decision. Especially, like I said, if it's 1-1 going into the third. I don't know if it was actually 1-1 going to the third. I felt like he needed a finish, but I'm just saying this is the way I'm looking at it. If I take him down, maybe there's a way that could possibly catch a submission. This is the way I'm thinking as a grappler. I don't know if Tim Elliott's game plan was to take him down and submit him. Who knows? But I want that position back. He gets the position back. Mokaev waits. He does the same thing. His butt's up, butt's low. And his hands down, his butt's up in the air. Almost like a 3-point stance in a football position, American football. Duck under. Boom! Comes up underneath the crotch, hits a slick duck, puts him down. From there, pretty much advances position into mount, had an arm choke, and almost looked like Elliott just conceded defeat and was just like, well, I gave it the old college try, and that's it, I'm out. So it was a great fight until that position, and shout out to Mokaev, man. He's a bomb burner. I mean, he got some takedown stuff, so he had a little adversity. He got taken down early in the first round, was able to get back up and get a takedown of his own. I think that's good for his growth and development, because the higher up you get in this division with the rankings, the tougher the competition and more prepared they're going to be. Tim Elliott was a great test. It looked like Tim was having some success in some positions, but ultimately going for those guillotines and positions and holding on too long instead of trying to get back to his feet, I think kind of sapped his energy a little bit. And who knows, as the fight played out, you could kind of tell Mokaev was starting to take over. Now this one was really Trevor Peek, Muhammad Yaya. It was a good fight. Good fight for the first Emirati to ever bless the octagon. Good for him. I think this guy, I think there's some good opportunity for him out there. They need to match him with the right opponents. He's got a good UFC matchup under his belt, and a guy in Trevor Peek who comes out there and just swings the biggest haymakers. Was literally headhunting with almost every single punch. You could hear those body shots. Me and my girl sit next to each other. When this guy landed those crosses to the body, it just looked like somebody just wound him up, let him go, and he just, boom, straight up just crushed his ribs. I was like, man, I would be surprised if nothing was fractured or broken, the way he was hitting them so hard with those punches. But he was able to weather the storm for the most part. He survived the fight. In a fight where, going into it, I was like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. This guy, Trevor, looks very aggressive in his fights compared to this guy who looks a little bit more, like, takes his time, a little, like, if you look at his demeanor, just looks very relaxed and almost unassuming, like he's not really excited about being in there. But he fought, he made it tough, and he had some moments in there, landed some good stuff. But I think he's going to have some growing pains in the UFC, and they're going to need to match him up the right way if they want to give him more opportunities to have more success. And of course, the training is completely up to him. He needs to make sure he's putting in the work so that he can be as best as he can be, and give the UAE fans something to really, really be proud and happy about, to cheer for, and give someone to root for them. And this is the last one we're going to talk about, this Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry. This was a weird one, because I don't know. I can't call it. One frame, it looks like the kid did not get kicked in the balls. And then in the other frame, it looks like it might have hit the cup and came up and grazed across. So I don't really know which way to go with that. It's very, very difficult to assume or say this guy was hurt or not hurt or milking it or faking it. And I tweeted cheek and tongue saying like, cue other guys who are going to say like he's acting. And then I had people telling me like, you would know he wasn't acting, you were acting. I'm just like, I said that jokingly because it's just funny that people know what something feels like. Like we, as men, we all know what it feels like to get kicked in the nuts. We all know what that feels like. But then people are saying he's faking because they look like he didn't get kicked in the nuts. But then as men, not everyone's been kneed in the head equally, but people know how you got kneed in the head. It's just me, again, cheek and tongue just saying like, I know people are going to call him out saying he's faking. And like, I don't know. I don't know what the guy's going through. I don't know what he's feeling. I don't know if he had his cup on wrong. Maybe it was put on the wrong spot and the way he got kicked, it was just a little bit enough for it to hit him a certain way where he could not continue. He threw up the same way I threw up, but I'm faking, but I threw up. And the same way he threw up, but somehow he's faking. It makes no sense. There's no winning. I feel bad for Victor Henry. I feel bad for Jared Bosot because it was shaping up to be a very interesting fight. Javid looked like he was starting to find his rhythm, find his pacing, his timing. Victor Henry tends to get stronger as the fight goes on. And now we won't get to see and get a definitive answer. And hopefully these guys get to run it back. Again, I'm not saying Henry was acting. I have no idea. I don't know what the guy's feeling. He's going to have to live with that, whether or not he was or wasn't. And now he's going to have to defend himself against all the casuals who are going to be out there claiming he's an actor. I'm like, dude, if that was acting, that was pretty damn good, you know? So hopefully these guys get to run it back and get some clarity on this one. Because I think it would be a good test for both of them. Even if they did decide to move on, but I think it'd be a good test to see where they're both at in their careers. I believe Javid is 3 or 4-0 in the UFC right now. So him to have gotten that one, I think would have been a breakthrough moment for him to get into that top 15 to really see where he's at with the UFC. He's 1, 2, 3, 4-0, no, 3-0. Contender, 1, 2. That would have been his 4th fight in a row. So, yeah. It happens, man. It's unfortunate. Good thing he's only 28. He has some time. Victor Henry's a little bit older, if I'm not mistaken. He is 36. So, yeah, it was a great opportunity for both of these guys to kind of see where they're at. And unfortunate, bad luck for both of them. And hopefully they get matched up and get to do it again. Other than that, Nathaniel Wood, Naimov, that was a great fight. But that's it, guys. Go to aljaminstore.com if you want to grab some shirts, you want to grab some merch. Got some stuff all over there. Thank you guys for supporting. I'm still in Abu Dhabi. We're heading over to Dubai tomorrow. Probably going to be here until about the 26th. Then we're going back to the States. Then I got a wedding. And we're slowly but surely getting into some training again. I actually got to train with Bilal and some of the Russian guys out here. The 145er who beat Brendan Lene. I can't even say his last name. Brendan Lene, I'm just saying Lene, in the PFL tournament in the finals. 45er, I think he said he's retired now, but he is strong. We got to grapple. It was a little slippery. By the way, it was some good fun. Although I'm out of shape, those guys, it seems like even though they're bigger and might not be like in fight shape, it seems like they're always training. I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I'm having a good time, guys. Come on, give me a break. They had one guy who was recording the whole thing, so there might be a couple of takedowns of me getting kind of tossed around a little bit. But like I said, it's all in good fun. Bigger than me. Got to push the pace, got to open up my lungs. And for the most part, I thought they were pretty respectful. So it was fun training. Good to kind of get that feel, that bigger body, because I do want to get used to that bigger weight, competing with those guys to see what I want to do in my next move, whether it's going to be 35 or 45. We got some matchups on the table, but again, I haven't even given it much thought. I'm going to see what I want to do. I want to sit and look at the landscape, see how things play out. We got to see how this fight played out. I know Volkanovski is kind of dealing with some stuff mentally. It seems like when he's not competing and not in a training camp, something eats at him, and maybe it's depression, maybe it's whatever. fighters are fighters, man. But I know people think that we're like superhuman, but I think people need to remember we are human just like everybody else. Same thing with Izzy. Finally need to take some time. He said he might be gone for a whole year. I even felt the same thing. Maybe I want to be gone for the whole year. I don't know when I want to come back and compete. I was saying February, but I was kind of just talking out my ass a little bit. I think there's something to be said about having some time away on your own term, not because I'm doing a surgery and I'm rehabbing and constantly doing this and then I'm jumping right back into a training camp. You don't get a mental break. This is the most decompressed I have felt in a long time. And I think Volk might need to find some way to find peace and happiness in his life outside of just competing, because when you only can identify yourself with one thing, I have found that it makes it very tough to not have those roller coaster of emotions where you're not too high and you're not too low. And sometimes I still even deal with those roller coasters of emotions, and again, having this time away, just being able to let loose, enjoy my downtime, enjoy my mental headspace, train just for fun and not with something, having a goal in mind. It has given me a little bit more life, and it has made me feel a little bit more rejuvenated and just happier overall than constantly being these back-to-back mental warfare training, constantly just never at ease up here. And you could be on the surface, people ask you if you're okay. Yeah, I'm good. But internally, there are some tough moments where I can relate. So I can only imagine how Volkanovski feels, always wanting to stay busy. But I have found when I find other things that I enjoy doing outside of fighting, it kind of helps substitute that, where I'm not so ingrained in the trenches 24/7. That gives me a little bit of an outlet to kind of breathe and be happy with my own thoughts and be happy being regular, a normal person. So that's my piece if Volkanovski ever does hear this. So hopefully he's doing all right. Hopefully he has a full recovery. And I do look forward to his matchup with Topuria in January, even though I do think he should just chill out and give himself a break. Let them have the interim title fight. Give yourself a little bit of a break. Take the Izzy approach. Take the approach I'm taking. And just chill. Just chill. Enjoy your time with your beautiful family, your kids, because these are times we're not going to get back, And I think that sometimes you got to just try to figure out a way to pull yourself away and find peace and happiness in other things. So that's it. That's all I want to say. Quick update. Funk Harbor, we're still working on the details. We had a little issue with the label. We have to get that sorted so that it's not all glossy and shiny, so that when you take pictures and stuff, it comes up. It's a small error, so we tighten that up. We should have that done. I don't want to give another promising of a date, but we're hoping for November that we can start taking sales, and then we can have it shipped out hopefully before Christmas. So hopefully everything works out. Thank you guys for your patience, and thank you for always tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button. I'll see you guys next time. I'm about to go catch some fun in the sun. Peace.